Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is Iron Man 181, At the Mercy of the Mandarin. Yeah, very different Mandarin from Iron Man 3, right? Pretty cool cover, by the way. You have James Rhodes here kneeling down with a sword, the Mandarin telling him to slit his throat, whatever you say, boss. This is kind of interesting because not many... this technique of having the lettering right here in the cover reminds me very much of a certain series. I wonder who wrote this. Oh crap, it's Dennis O'Neil. So yeah, this is written by Dennis O'Neil, penciled by Luke McDonnell, inks by Steve Mitchell. Looks like, and edited by Mark Gruenwald. So this is definitely the B team at Marvel. Anyhow, we get a sort of interesting splash page. It tells you we're in China. The Mandarin is ordering Rhodey to go kill himself. Rhodey, in a big splash page right here, is able to overcome the mind control, I'm guessing, that Mandarin has. So this is kind of interesting in that Denny O'Neil kind of gets away with murder right here, because normally Jim Shooter era comics require a lot more exposition and explanation for what's going on, and he probably shouldn't have gotten away with it because this comic kind of suffers for it. I have no idea what happened previously other than the inference that Iron Man is fighting with Mandarin. We also don't realize that James Rhodes is taking over as Iron Man just recently, and Tony Stark is kind of not necessarily retired but gone on a break. So if you were just jumping in and picking it up, it would be kind of confusing for your average reader. So kind of negative points right there. I guess this one slipped past Jim. Anyhow, we get into it. James is able to escape and blast his way out, and you get a lot of inner monologue. There's a lot of thought bubbles going on with James Rhodes, and a lot of it is Denny trying to, or Dennis, I should say, trying to develop the character of James Rhodes. Now, unfortunately, the personality doesn't necessarily transfer over to when Jim Shooter is writing him in Secret Wars, but it's not bad. He's kind of he's a real human being. He's no token character. He pretty much questions himself all the time and whether he's even a good Iron Man compared to Tony. And you kind of go back and forth. So the Mandarin's got a sort of interesting plot. He's basically using some machine to cause all of the crops in China to fail. And with the Chinese people being unable to feed themselves, they're going to go to war with all their neighboring countries and create chaos in the region. And we get a jump back to Tony Stark. He's looking for a lady called Gretel, and he's all bummed out and jacked up. This chick is pregnant with a kid. I don't know necessarily if it's Tony's kid. She's also drinking alcohol while pregnant. Not a good idea, lady. That's going to end poorly for you. Also being around cigarettes, too. And then we go back to James, and he's noticing what the Mandarin's trying to do, so he decides he's got to stop her. There's a lot of panels of just Iron Man flying around, so you can pretty much guess what I'm going to draw for this comic. Anyhow, while he's flying around, he gets caught on radar by Chinese fighters, so you got these MiG-21s coming after him, and he tries to negotiate with them. They don't really understand English, so it doesn't really work, so he gets shot up. Here's a pretty cool, so this is the panel, by the way, that I chose. Whoops, right here. So what I have noticed about my art is I can never get the sizing correct when I'm just looking at these things. By the way, I don't trace anything. I'm actually just drawing it from reference on the side, kind of like this. And you can see here that I made Iron Man's, the tilt of his head and his body is too strong right here. He's actually not that tilted, but no, that's for another day. Anyway, back to the story. Chinese government pretty much gets pissed off and starts calling because they think the Americans are messing with them with the crops failing. And at this point, Iron Man basically plays a game of chicken with the Mandarin. He lets the MiG-21 shoot missiles at him, and then he comes in and uses the tractor beam that the Mandarin has to capture him, to draw in the missiles and Iron Man. The Mandarin has to turn off his tractor beam, and that allows Iron Man to blast up the cannons that the Mandarin has, and this in turn allows him to get into the mountain lair. He blasts his way in there, and we get an interesting side thing between this character right here, which is like the Mandarin's sort of minion, who apparently doesn't really like him because he notices Iron Man showing up on the screen, and he turns off the screen to kind of not let the Mandarin see that. Meanwhile, James, or Rhodey, I should say, breaks open the lava underneath the generators. This in turn allows him to blast all of the machinery in there and foil the Mandarin's plan. The Mandarin bounces out, gets into a freaking jet airplane, flies away. Rhodey comes after him, but he's unable to capture him, and that's pretty much it. He decides to bounce out and get back to the States really fast. Yeah, I like that, the jump right here. He just basically is like, I'm in China, now I'm in New York. He ends up flying to the exact same stadium that that Spider-Man and the Hulk went to, and gets blasted into Secret Wars. Overall, things happen in it, but, I'm not really, this is not one of Dennis O'Neil's best series, or I should say writing. Definitely, I'm not sure if Marvel put him on this because of his background doing Jon Stewart on Green Lantern. But James Rhodes, written by Denny O'Neil, at least in this issue, not so great. Definitely the weakest comic I've read for this lead into the Secret Wars. But not bad art. I think Luke McDonnell does a pretty good job, and same with Steve Mitchell. So let's see, how did I do? So first off, again, this is too closed in. So I've cut off his hand, and also one of the MiGs is not showing, whereas in the... Yeah, so in this one you can see the MiGs are shown, in this one it's not. Also, as you can see, his head's not tilted far enough and down there, and also his chest is kind of pulling up a lot more compared to this one. So it's not a bad drawing, but I definitely changed it, and I didn't even realize I changed it. If I think about it, Iron Man's actually kind of like bending like this, right, when you take a look at this guy. So not a bad drawing, definitely better than last night's drawing, but definitely room for improvement on this one. Anyhow, that's the review. Let me know what you think. If you like it, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you have any comments on Iron Man, Dennis O'Neil's Iron Man, James Rhodes' Iron Man, or any of the old Iron Man comics, or this, artwork that I just did here, leave it down below, and I will see you next time.